Grahame Cruickshanks and Jarrod Lewin join us now at the desk talking about green buildings in South Africa. Jarrod, let's start with you. Green building, the Americans have this phrase, mom and apple pie. You know, it's something that everyone agrees is a good thing. You're not going to find anyone saying we don't want green buildings. Where are we? What's the state of play?
Yeah, green building in South Africa has grown tremendously over the last few years. So the GBCSA and the green building movement in South Africa is about 7 years old. And we started out with 1 to 4 buildings. We've now grown almost exponentially year on year to about 60 this year. It's incredible. We've got about 1 million or just over 1 million square meters of green building space.
We're looking, I think, is the Nedbank building over there. One of the buildings which is regarded as very green, and one of the new ones.
Yes, yes. In fact, that was South Africa's first Green Star certified building. That's a 4-star Green Star certification. And that really was pioneering. That had quite a big hand in transforming, interestingly, the paint manufacturing industry.
Grahame, maybe let's come to you, and I want to get a sense of where South Africa sits in terms of our rankings. We hear a lot of positivity in terms of South Africa doing a lot in terms of going green, in terms of building, architecture, design, all of it coming together. How do we rank?
To pitch us as a ranking is quite difficult, given the size of our real estate industry relative to other countries. I think it's more important to look at the uptake of green buildings, which has been incredibly rapid. Jarrod referred to that just now. A couple of the drivers for that, energy efficiency was one of the primary drivers initially, but we're starting to see a much greater awareness around ESG issues, environment, social and governance issues, driving some of the awareness for that. And as a ranking, I think with regards to the types of things that are going on in South Africa's green building industry, the levels of innovation, we are ranked with the best in the world. With regards to sheer numbers, we have some catching up to do. The majority of our built environment was constructed for a different era, a different type of resource consumption, and that is transforming rapidly.
I know that you want to quickly jump in, but before you do, Grahame, I just want to go back to a point that you've made. You've said that the uptake has been quite rapid. Yeah. Why has that been the case? Is it because we've had a regulatory environment that's been really conducive, that has put in the right incentives to get this green movement going, or are there other underlying factors?
There are a number of factors. As I said, one of the primary ones was energy. Eskom's load shedding crisis transformed people's perceptions around resource consumption in South Africa. Other drivers, consumer and corporate awareness around environmental issues has been a big driver. Brand awareness starts to affect that as well. Regulatory environments in South Africa have been reactionary rather than leading with regards to the actual regulations. There are some new energy efficiency regulations for the built environment. From an advocacy point of view, the Green Building Council has played a leading role in drawing the green building industry into a more formal space.
There's another one on screen now, and I must say that clearly my shopping is not on par, because I actually can't tell if that's either the V&A waterfront or Mainland Mall in Pretoria.
What strikes one about these pictures is the light. Yes, old buildings, Jarrod, badly designed for the South African environment in terms of light. They were designed for northern European cities where it's dark and you live inside rather than letting the light in. But it struck me, we had Mornay from FNB in earlier this morning. He works at that building in Northcliffe where there's a lot of solar panels, they generate their own electricity and so on. But it's all very well having buildings. Why do buildings leave their lights on all night if energy is an issue? I mean, surely there's some thinking that has to change, not just the buildings. Absolutely,
and in fact, that was a discussion Grahame and I were just having. It often comes down to behavioral change. So our structures in our buildings are doing really good things. They're designed to do great things and be really efficient. But the people in them just aren't towing the line.
They're not green.
Absolutely. Yeah, and people are resistant to change, and this is something that we work on constantly.
But why haven't the big corporates told their guys to switch off the lights at night, including Eskom, by the way, Grahame?
So there are a number of issues there. The behavioral change is one. Building operations has become quite a sophisticated business. Building management systems are used, electronic building management systems are used to operate buildings. Walking in and finding a light switch in a modern building is actually quite hard. The lights are controlled by sensors, they're controlled centrally. A cleaning person walking across a floor at 3 o'clock in the morning with a vacuum cleaner can switch on all the lights. These are the sort of operations operational challenges that are faced by building owners these days, and South Africa is coming to grips with that. You were asking earlier about where we rank. We're having to up our game in facilities management as well as in building construction and design. So these are quite
And I
difficult
think you touched on an
challenges.
important point, and I want to throw it back to you, Jarrod, and this is about the secondary industries. I mean, you would almost now expect transformation in the input industries as well, because they would have to toe the line in terms of the criteria and the criteria and the standardization that is required to meet these standards.
Absolutely, and we're seeing big shifts in a couple of chief industries. So in timber, there's a very important discussion happening around responsible timber farming. The steel industries needing to change the way they operate and have been operating for years and years, as have the oil industries. Suddenly they're starting to take quite a big awareness and position on green building and sustainability principles. Becomes a tangible demonstration of what they're building or what their corporate agenda is about.
Pack? I mean, I would assume here that the architects are setting the pace, because if they're designing green buildings from paper, that's likely going to be setting the pace of whether we're going green or not.
Can I respond to that?
Yeah.
Building product manufacturers are faced with the same challenge as the professionals are, a complete shift in the way that they operate and supply services and products. So what has to happen is that the building product suppliers need to come to terms with the certification of their products for legitimate green credentials that they can then use to supply into the green building industry. Some have reacted quickly, as Jarrod's already alluded to, and others have been slower to follow. But they will over time change their products to suit the market, and we're actually quite interested in assisting with driving that.
What about residential, Jarrod? I think all the thinking, certainly in these discussions we've had in the studio, have been the big buildings. But the houses in the suburbs, the cluster homes, when they build these new vast retirement clusters, for example, out in the northwest of the province, are they thinking green?
Yeah, they absolutely are. And let me explain our transition and the thinking behind it. Is we've targeted the corporates for a reason. They take a leadership role. But similarly, or what happens as a dual function is all the people occupying these big corporate buildings go home and have a residential setting. So residential, I can't say too much. What I can say is it's on our radar. It's a market that we see complementary to the commercial sector, absolutely, and there's certainly big gains and big impacts to be made.
Grahame, in your world, I mean, guys like you from EY, this is what you do there. What are the things that you spend your day advising people? What are the things that you're identifying that are the issues for the clients?
We try and align ourselves with the entire vertical structure of an organization. So what is the organization's business strategy, and how is that aligned with their sustainability strategy? And then from the bottom up, what are they doing about making sure that the light fittings and the air conditioning plants that they've got in their buildings are actually making a valuable contribution to their bigger picture strategy? So that's what our day-to-day job is that sort of alignment. Yeah.
One of the things I think, just to go back, that piqued my interest was the behavioral change that you're talking about. And again, going back to David's question about what are some of the top of mind pieces of advice that you're advising clients, and let's talk about what are you advising them about the behavioral change that should be driving as a cultural change within the organization to get everybody on board.
To use an image, you almost want to have a green stain running through the entire organization, so that every action that people are taking has behind it some sort of motivation to try and be environmentally and socially responsible.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for making the time to join us. That was Grahame, Cruickshanks, Manager for Climate Change and Sustainability Services for Green Buildings at EY, and Jarrod Lewin, Business Development Manager at the Green Building Council of South Africa.